The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
Herod the Tetrarch had heard about all that was being done by Jesus, and he was puzzled because some people were saying that John had risen from the dead, others that Elijah had reappeared, still others that one of the ancient prophets had come back to life. But Herod said, John, I beheaded him. So who is this I hear such reports about? And he was anxious to see Jesus. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Herod was anxious to see Jesus. He was anxious to see Jesus. And this would lead us to feel that he really wanted to see Jesus. There are many reasons why many people who want to see Jesus. If we go in the same gospel according to Luke chapter 19, we find Zacchaeus wanting to see Jesus, and he welcomes him into his house, and his house is transformed because he began to give away. He repented of all his sinfulness, and he gave out. We know also in John's Gospel, chapter 3, we find Nicodemus, who came at night searching for Jesus. He wants to see him because he wants to be transformed by him. We know also of the two disciples of John who followed Jesus, and Jesus asked them, what are you looking for? And they say, where do you live, Lord? And the Gospel says that later on they stayed with Jesus and they learned from him. They grew in holiness because of the transformation that they received. We know also of the lady who had had hemorrhage for 12 years in Mark's Gospel, chapter 5, who said in verse 28 that if only I can touch the tassel of his cloak, I will be healed. So she goes in search of Jesus because she believes, because she trusts that Jesus can change her situation. And could we say it is in the same vein or the same faith that Herod was searching for Jesus? There were also people who were searching for Jesus, and because they wanted different things. And in Luke's Gospel, the same Gospel, chapter 23, we hear now the exact reason why Herod was searching for Jesus. He says that in chapter 23, from verse 7, he says that when Pilate had realized that Jesus was a Galilean, and he sent Jesus to this same Herod to be judged by Herod. And when he arrived at Herod's place, he says that Herod was so delighted to see Jesus because he had heard a lot about him and he had been looking for a long time for him. And then he was hoping that Jesus is going to perform a sign. This is the reason why Herod was searching for Jesus, because he had heard about him and he wanted a sign from him. Not for anything, not because he wanted to believe, but because he wanted to be entertained by Jesus. Religious fireworks, to see what Jesus is doing, and you are entertained by them. In John's Gospel, chapter 6, also verse 30, says that there were people, after the multiplication of the bread, they were asking, can you give us a sign from heaven so that we may see and believe? A sign from heaven so that we may see and believe. And then in Matthew's Gospel also, they talked about the Pharisees and the Sadducees asking Jesus, give us a sign. And what does Jesus say? This wicked generation. Those who are looking for a sign are a wicked generation. And the only sign that will be given you is a sign of Jonah. In other words, because Jonah stayed in the belly of the fish for 3 days and was vomited, just like Jesus later on will stay in the heart of the earth during his crucifixion and burial, and then his rising from the dead. So the sign that Jesus has given us, which is enough, is a sign of the resurrection. That shows already that he is God. He is the Son of God. He is the chosen one. He is the Messiah, because he overcame death. He rose from the dead, and he defeated our sinfulness. He defeated the devil. He defeated death. So what happens to those who are searching for Jesus, just like Herod, searching for a sign? In Luke's Gospel, chapter 23, verse 9, it says that Herod had questioned Jesus at length, and Jesus was silent. Jesus didn't utter any reply to Herod. This is exactly what happens to people who go to church because they want a sign, because they want something particular from Jesus. And this is what happens to us at times, that we want to have an encounter with Jesus because maybe there is something that we are facing that we want him to solve, or because we want him to do something special for us. We have a particular thing that we are asking for that we want him to do for us. And once we can get these things, then it's enough. We don't need to go back to him. There were people also like Zacchaeus who wanted Jesus because they wanted a deep relationship with him, a relationship that will change their lives forever, a relationship that will become like the living water, that becomes a source within them that will give them life all the time, not something that is just temporal. Like Herod, he just wants a sign. He wants signs from Jesus, or like the people who want a sign from heaven, and they say, once we see this sign, we are going to believe. No. To those people, he would completely be silent. And this is the reason why many people now, like I've said, I think many times here, they flock into churches where there are signs and miracles. If I start a church today where the blind can see, where the deaf can hear, where the lame can walk, you will realize many people flocking into those churches because they believe in the sign. It's true, many people are searching for Jesus, but maybe the motive is not the same. Remember Herod the Great also, in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 2, he was searching for Jesus, for the baby Jesus. He said, if you see him, that's what he told the Magi. If you see him, please tell me so that I can go and see him. He was searching for Jesus not to be transformed by him, but actually to kill him, to kill the baby Jesus. So it's not about all those who Jesus says, not everybody who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but those who believe, those who know that he will be transformed by him. And so it's a call for us that we may purify our motives for searching for Jesus. We search for him because we want to be transformed by him, not because we want a little solution to the problem that we have at the moment. It's not like the doctor where if you have stomach ache or you have headache, you go for consultation, it gives you a drug for a particular medicine, and you get cured and you leave the hospital. No, Jesus wants to transform us. He wants our lives to be centered on him. He says, if you knock at the door, I would open, I would enter and dine with you and you with me. In other words, he wants to give us a whole transformation, an integral transformation to our lives, to our souls, to everything that we seek. He doesn't just want to give us a timely or a temporal solution to the things that we are asking, and he lets us go. He wants us to be transformed by him. And this is the motive for which we should go to church. This is the motive for which we should search for Jesus, because we want to grow into a deeper relationship with him, a relationship that is transformative, a relationship that brings healing, a relationship that brings reconciliation, a relationship that makes us a light to others. And therefore, let us continue to ask God for the grace to love him for who he is, and that we may surrender our lives totally and completely to him.